I spent years living all the way in the box, afraid to step out, afraid to truly grab hold of my dream. And now I am breaking through, and I invite you to join me.
Your breakthrough starts now. Coming up on today's show, get ready to be inspired and transformed with our featured guests. Find out what's trending and get advice on life's daily challenges with Erica's top tips of the day. All of this and so much more coming up. So stay tuned. This is your one-stop shop for inspiration. The Erica Latrice Show. And now, here's your host, Erica.
Hello and welcome to the Erica Latrice Show. This is your one-stop shop for inspiration. And when I tell you today's episode is something that I can so resonate with, and I think it's going to be exciting for all of you with our special guest today, Louisa, who is breaking down the truth behind happily ever after. I know we hear this all the time, we resonate with it, and we think that it has to fit into a box. But I believe that Louisa is shattering the box of happily ever after. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today in the Be Inspired Cafe. But before we jump into that, I want to encourage you to join the conversation. So if you're watching this live right now, I would encourage you to comment below, how do you define happily ever after? Let us know. There's no wrong answer. We just want to hear from you. How do you define happily ever after? We're going to take a short break. That gives you about 30 seconds to put your definition right below wherever you're watching this. And when we come back, we're jumping straight into the Be Inspired Cafe with our powerhouse guest today, Louisa Pateman, who is bringing the jewels. So if you're single right now, or maybe even if you're in a relationship, I promise you today's episode is for you. So do not go anywhere. Big thank you to our sponsors today. It's all things Born to Soar Conference, getting unique jewelry, as well as getting your finances in order. These are things I know I need and would love learning about, so I hope you do too. We'll be right back.
Get ready to soar at the upcoming Amplify Her Born to Soar Conference. You can get your tickets at borntosoarconference.com with options for the VIP upgrade, and it's all designed to help you expand your reach, increase your voice to stand on your story. If you're ready to get around like-minded women on a mission, then this is the best place to get started. So we'll see you at our upcoming event. Go to borntosoarconference.com.
Yes, grab your tickets. It is go time when it comes to stepping out, getting clarity, confidence, and connections around other like-minded people at the Born to Soar conference. But what we are doing right now is jumping into the Be Inspired Cafe with this powerhouse, Louisa, who is no stranger to climbing trees, raising chickens, and doing all of those outdoorsy things. But in addition to that, she's been able to teach you an amazing lesson on love and how it truly can be defined. So welcome, Louisa. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you. It's lovely to be here, Erica.
Yes, I'm super excited because I feel like your story is not only inspiring, but it's just so multidimensional, the things that you speak on and busting those myths and boxes that we put ourselves in. So can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what it is that you currently do?
Yeah. So look, I'm Australian, by the way. So hello, greetings from Australia. So look, I'm now in my 40s, and I spent my 20s and 30s chasing my happily ever after, which was basically what society defines as happily ever after. It's find your soulmate, settle down, and have children. And look, that message was given to me from everywhere, from my friends, my family, from religion, from society, and even media. Like, the girl always gets the guy at the end of the Hollywood movie. And so look, I spent my 20s and my 30s chasing my happily ever after. But I had so many failed relationships in that time, and I tried really, really hard. But in that period of time, I actually managed to have a fantastic career. So I'm a civil engineer, and I have traveled all around the world and been to many, many countries. And but a lot of that was done as a single woman. And now I'm a mother. So we can talk more on that more.
Yes, I love it. So we're going to get into your book in just a second, and I love the title of it. But I want to talk about that moment for you. Like, what was that eye-opening moment that you knew it was time to embrace your definition of happily ever after, and it set you out on this path where you now help other people? What was that moment like?
Yeah, look, it was actually an interesting question, because it makes me laugh. But I got to my 30s, and so I hadn't found the one, and I had always deemed 30 as being old. I certainly don't think that now, and so I'd wanted to settle down before I was 30. So I wanted to find my soulmate, settle down, and have my first child before I was 30. And as I was progressing in age and I was having more failed relationships, that didn't happen. So I kept pushing my life plan out. So I kept pushing it out and pushing it out. And then I got into my 30s, and then I hadn't actually settled down or met the one. And my standards were getting lower. So when I was in my 20s, I had my bar high, and I was, I guess I was happy with the type of men I was dating. And then I was getting into my 30s, and then I was lowering the bar. So I started letting in men that I perhaps wouldn't have dated. And then when I got to my mid-30s, there was no bar. And it's like, oh, my goodness. And so I just wanted time. And so I got to my mid-30s, and I just wanted to buy some time. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and freeze my eggs. And so I went to the fertility specialist, and the guy, lovely gynecologist, by the way. And I said to him, look, I want to buy some time. I want to freeze my eggs. Now, this was 2010, and I acknowledge that some technology has improved since then, but it was my reality. So in 2010, in my reality, the doctor said to me, oh, look, it's really only a 7% success rate for a live birth. And I'm a mathematician, so I'm an engineer, and I just started going, oh, my goodness, 7%, that's not an insurance plan. And I was really defeated and really disheartened. And so he actually suggested me, he was the first one who had ever said to me, have you ever considered having a child on your own? And I was like, no, I didn't come in here to have someone's child. I came in here to freeze my eggs. And he said, oh, look, having an embryo, freezing an embryo has got a 37% chance. And I'm like, I didn't come in here to have someone else's child. I came in here to freeze my eggs. So thanks, but no thanks. And so then proceeded to go, left the doctor, and then started to do internet dating. And up until that point in time, I was really focused on serendipity and having the universe put me together with the right person at the right time. And but serendipity wasn't working for me. So I'm like, okay, well, what else is out there? I need to shop. So I'd always considered internet dating as shopping for a man, and the pick and choose. And so I went on to internet dating straight away, and I ended up dating someone who was an absolute disaster. And I say disaster as in not heartbroken, but disaster as in the quality of man I was dating. And oh my goodness, so in the book I call him Towel Guy. But yeah, so I came out of that relationship thinking, oh my goodness, if this is all that is left out there, if this is the quality of single men left out there in my late 30s, then I perhaps need to consider the second path told to me by the doctor.
Awesome. So I'm like intrigued into your story. I'm just sitting here like, keep going. So when you came to this point, I know one of the things that you've talked about are the labels that we can put on ourselves, or the labels that community would put on. But what I know, I want to kind of talk about being a single mother as well, because I feel like there are so many labels and boxes. And as of late, I don't know if it's just come to my attention, but I have not seen anyone get bashed more from my viewpoint than single mothers. No matter how they ended up in that space, I feel like that's an area that people just constantly have judgment on, and they're saying things. So I want to kind of scratch the surface on that, though we're going to take a break in just a second. But when you made that decision to become a mom, walk us through that. Like, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, and it was actually a very difficult experience. So even though I had gone down the path of deciding, okay, I want to freeze my eggs, and then found out that wasn't an insurance plan, then proceeded to date the most disastrous man on the planet. Fortunately, he's in Australia, women. It's okay, don't worry. And so then I decided that, okay, I'm going to embark on this journey. And it took that last failed relationship for me to really consider what the doctor had said to me to use a donor to become a single mother by choice. And so for me, I had never aspired to become a single mother. And there's nothing wrong with single mothers. I'm a single mother now, and I love being a single mother. But at the time, there was a lot of stigma attached to being a single mum. And it's that whole, I guess, the reference to happily ever after, where we're led to believe as children that I guess achieving your happily ever after is success. And so success was finding a man and settling down and having children as a union. And failure was basically being single in whatever form that was, single with no children or single with a child. And so I really struggled with that stigma. And I really had to go away and have a think about basically what advice I was taking. And I came to the realization that my friends and family were giving me advice from a space of love, and they were giving me advice based on their life journey, their risk profile, what walking in their own shoes. No one was walking in my shoes. And so I realized that I had to stop listening to other people. I realized that I had to stop taking other people's advice because no one else was traveling a parallel path to me. And so I really did a lot of inward thinking, and I had to change my beliefs. I had realized that I had a belief that success equals getting married and having a baby. And I had to change that belief. And I had to basically say, you know what? I have to choose my own belief. And I am a successful career woman. I've traveled all around the world. I've done so many great things. I'm not a failure. And having a child, I really wanted to be a mother. And becoming a single mother by choice was a success. And I had to change that belief.
Yes, I'm like, I keep like, I'm like, oh, just marinating on it. And this is something I find it so interesting too, because like you said, like there are many bars that are set. But when we think about, I even think about from my faith, like from a Christian standpoint, it's a gift. Literally, the Bible talks about singleness being a gift. So whatever path that God has put us on, it's understanding. The reason I love your message is understanding that we all have our unique path, and our level of success or our level of peace, our level of joy here in this lifetime is not contingent on someone else's box, you know, that they want to put us in. So I'm throwing the mic on you. So we're going to take I'm not like you're just like, these are such good nuggets. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, I want to dig into your book because I feel like the title of it is just something that many people can relate to, especially if you're out there and you've been on the receiving end of these labels. So that's actually my question for you. For those of you that are watching, join the conversation. Are you single? I want to speak to those that are single or have been single, because we all have. Are there any stigmas or labels that you found attached to singleness? I'm just curious, open-ended question. Let us know what attachments, what labels have you seen when it comes to singleness? So we'll take a short break. Big thank you to Marie Edwards, who is helping us get our finances straight. If you are single or married, financial literacy is so important. So we'll take a short break. Join the conversation. When we come back, we're going to dive into Louisa's book, which I'm super excited about. We'll be right back. If you have been looking for a sign, here it is. It is time for a financial wake-up call. We all use this daily, but how many of us really know how it works? What I'm talking about is money. And Marie Edwards is a financial educator, financial literacy, and professional advisor, helping millennial and Gen Z women understand how money works and how they can start making it work for them. So if this is something that you have had on your to-do list, it is time to check it off. Go to howmoneyworks.com/Marie Edwards. That's MARIEEDWARDS to book your free consultation or sign up for the next free class so that you can start making your money work for you. I love it. That check always wakes me up. It's like, check it off. Let's go. Let's talk about your book, Louisa, because what I love is that people can interpret it so many different ways, like again and again, or again and again, and now it's go time. So tell us, how did you come up with the title of the book, and what was that moment where you decided you wanted to write it?
The title was interesting. I can't even remember the exact moment where the title hit me, but I definitely wanted single in there because that's how, I guess it was an identity thing. So we have these identities where sometimes our identities can constrain us. And I certainly always felt when I described myself, I always described myself as single in the title. And so for me, that was something that really I related to. And yeah, single again. And I've had so many fun relationships that the again and again and again, it just made sense to me. So yeah, so single again and again and again. dot dot dot. So and again, it just keeps coming. It's all good.
I love it. I want to dig a little bit into your experience now, being a single mother, and maybe some of the labels. And you talked about like the mindset beliefs or other people's labels. Which ones have you noticed that you've been able to shed the more that you've experienced your current path?
Yeah. In terms of labels, when I decided to go down this path, I decided to own my decision. And I knew that there'd be a little bit of backlash. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to own this. And so once I'd taken the journey and I was pregnant, I basically said to people, look, I'm 37. I didn't meet my soulmate and I'm unmarried and I've decided to become a mother on my own. And by putting it out there, people were sort of not able to then try and convince me otherwise. And by owning the decision, it gave me a sense of power. And so I guess I only experienced a few negative, well, to my face, a few negative comments when I was pregnant. And that's fair and reasonable. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And then when I became a mum, I had to make some conscious decisions internally. And so I made a decision to, one, lower my expectations. And so I decided that I would expect to do everything. And so I expect to, clean the house, cook, bring the income in, basically, look after my child. All my expectations were set very low so that whenever anyone would help me, I would then always have my expectations exceeded. And so with that, I also learned to change my perspective. So I guess sometimes when people will, I guess pity is one thing I really struggled with. I don't like people giving me pity because quite often I feel that my situation is actually a more happier situation than theirs. And so I learned to change my perspective. And by doing so, I'd be sitting at mothers groups and I'd be a single mother and they didn't seem to mind how I became a single mother, and not that it should. And, but they'd complain about their partners or their husbands and I would just smirk because it's like, you know what? I don't have those problems. I don't have those expectations that aren't being met. And in terms of the stigma, I guess by owning it and really putting it out there and being proud of the fact that I'm a single mother by choice, I think I've stopped some people in their tracks who may have wanted to provide their opinion. They've held back. And so, look, I feel in a way that I'm pioneering, certainly amongst my friends, I'm pioneering this. And so the stigmas, in all honesty, were more attached to when I was single without a child than being a single mother because of my confidence levels. When I was in my 30s and particularly in my mid to late 30s, being single without a child, I really struggled with the stigma of having that label. And in my book, I call it a disease, and the single woman childless over 35 disease. But as I became a mum, my confidence levels rose, and I was happier. So I didn't feel that I was getting the stigma as much, and I was able to deflect it really by having the confidence.
This is such a good conversation that we're having right now, Louisa, because I feel like a lot of people have fallen into every category that we've touched on some way. You're single, you're married, you're on the receiving end, the back end, the middle end. And one of the things that stand out to me is what you were just saying is coming from that place of gratitude, coming from a place of no matter where you're at, there's no wrong or right about wherever God has us in each phase of our life, especially when we can learn to be grateful. Because when I think about the different women that I've come across that are single mothers, how they ended up there it just varies. Some women are widowed. Some women left abusive situations. Some women made the decision to divorce. Some men and women, single parents, period. It's like we never know what life will bring us. At any time, we never know. But when we come from that place, which I feel like is what you touched on, of being grateful every day, like, what do I have access to? what has God blessed me with that I can be thankful for? It's in that moment that nothing outside of ourselves is what determines our happiness.
Yes.
With a child, without, married, single.
Yes.
There's a song by Coffee, Gratitude's a Must.
Yes. And I'm even grateful for my failed relationships, so even now in hindsight, I'm so grateful that I had all those duds. I call them duds in the book, even though they're lovely men, but I'm actually grateful for my string of duds, because had I not had those failed relationships, then I wouldn't have my boy, and so that led me on to have my child, and he and I are such a great team together that I'm actually grateful for my failure, what society considers a failure. And I'm happy for that in addition to what I have now. And so, yeah.
That's such an amazing way to look at it. So we're going to get ready for our final thoughts and take one final break to allow you to join the conversation. So we've talked about the stigmas. We've talked about how we define happily ever after. And I want to hear from you all. What are you grateful for today? What are you appreciative of about your situation? No matter what category you fall into, let us celebrate with you and think about those things that you're actually thankful for, that you're grateful for. And I'm grateful for Letitia Montgomery, founder of Stand Out Style, where she creates unique jewelry. And I want to transition to that as a huge thank you as we take this short break. And comment below. Let us know, what are you celebrating today so we can celebrate with you. Stand Out Style, the jewelry that makes you truly stand out, because each piece is made uniquely different. Let your style pop and find your signature piece that has special meaning to you, or gift it to someone else. Stand Out Style Designs create stylish, unique, one-of-a-kind, handcrafted beaded jewelry for women. To find your next custom piece, visit standoutstyle.storeenvy.com. That's standoutstyle.storeenvy.com. All right, it is time for some final thoughts. And this has been such a breath of fresh air for me, Louisa, because I want to think about one of those things that stand out to me about you and your story is that I feel like you've poured yourself into this book. You've poured yourself into your message, and it comes across so genuine. So what would you say? What's that legacy that you hope to leave whenever people read your book or connect with you? What do you hope they walk away with?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I originally started along the path of writing, it actually started from, I had so many people ask me questions. So once I embarked on this journey to become a single mother by choice, I had really strange, random people ask me about my plight. And so I had people from work or colleagues or friends of friends, and they'd say, oh, can you just talk to my daughter? Or can you talk to my niece? Or can you FaceTime my sister in America? Because so many women were going through a parallel journey. And I didn't realize that at the time. And so I just wanted to reach out. I was happy to tell my story. I was happy to, I guess, for women, other women traveling a similar journey, to be able to relate. And so I went down that path. And in doing so, I decided that I wanted to start some conversations. And it's like, we have so much pressure put on us as young girls and young women to follow society's definition of happily ever after, and that is deemed a success. And that's not necessarily the case. And I wanted, I guess, people of all ages to start questioning that. It's like, you know what, it's not necessarily healthy to put that much pressure on young women to say that that's the definition of success, and that there is more than one path. And then the other thing I want people to take home is that I've actually lived a fantastic life as a single person. I've traveled to so many countries, and I've got a fantastic career, and now I have a beautiful son. And that was done as mostly a single woman. And so have the courage to be single and get off the couch. And if it wasn't for me having the courage to get off the couch and stop pining for the love of a man and actually embrace life and have exciting and rewarding life experiences, I would have missed out on a lot of joy. And so it's just bringing those conversations home. You know what? There's more than one life plan. There's more than one way to happiness. And the goal shouldn't be to get married and have children. The goal should be to find happiness. And so, yeah, so hopefully there's women out there who can, and men who can be inspired by that.
Yes, you just dropped an entire nugget where you said, have the courage to be single. I think if people walk away with nothing else from you today, it's understanding that whatever role we're in right now, having that courage to see what the possibilities are. So I'm like, oh, so many. I have so many more questions for you, Louisa, and I know I can't
Yes.
get to every single one of them. But has there been, maybe if you had to narrow down like the biggest mindset shift that you've
Yes.
experienced and how you
Yes.
got to that shift in this journey?
Yeah. In all honesty, for me, my biggest penny drop was when I realized that beliefs were a choice. And so up until, my mid 30s, I had just believed what everyone had told me, what society had told me, that success equals happily ever after. And it wasn't until I got to my late 30s, when I was going through this mental marathon of deciding to become a single mother by choice, that I realized that beliefs were a choice. And when I realized that beliefs were a choice, and I can choose to believe that being a single mother is actually a fantastic situation to be in, and a successful situation. When I believed that, my whole life changed. So it was changing my perspectives and changing my expectations, and and then just knowing that I can choose what I believe.
That's so good. You said something. You said a penny drop, and I'm not
Yes.
familiar with. Did you say
Oh,
like the coin?
yes,
I've never
yes,
heard that. That's so cool. I always say mic drop, so I'm going to add that penny drop.
yes,
I love
yes.
it. So, what is the best way for those that want to get connected with you? I first want to know, what can they expect from your book, and then also how can we get our hands on a copy to support what you're doing?
Yeah, when I wrote my book, I deliberately wrote it for an audience that was not necessarily someone who knew that they wanted to go down this path, but it was basically just for anyone struggling for, to be able to relate that they're single and they feel like they're on their own. And so there's a lot of my failed relationships in there, but I've had a lot of feedback from many people of many shapes and walks of life, that have found relatability in my book. And so, yeah, you'll see all my failed relationships and my journey and my emotions and my struggles, and then the happiness at the end. It is a nice happy ending. And and you can find more on my website, which is www.louisapateman.com. Or you can go to Louisa Pateman, my handle on Instagram. So yeah, that's it.
I love it. Okay. So this is the last question for you today. If those watching, if they take nothing else from today's episode, what's that one takeaway that you hope they leave with?
Have the courage to be single. Live your best life. And have the courage to be single. Go and have some exciting and rewarding life experiences just on your own.
I love it. The word of the day is courage. I love it because I find that I've had several conversations with friends who are single and they're in their 30s. And I'm telling them, do you know how amazing it is to just get ready to like go and travel, and you don't have to check in with 5 other people to see how they feel that day, what they want to eat or anything.
Yes.
So it's finding the bright side in any circumstance. And that's what I would encourage you all of today. So Louisa, I want to say a big thank you for bringing your jewels and dropping your pennies in the Be Inspired Cafe today. For those of you that are watching, make sure that you join the conversation wherever you're watching live. And if this has encouraged you, tell a friend, tag a trailblazer, get the word out. The best way that you can support the show is just by sharing it. And as I always encourage you, connect with me across social media at Erica Empowers, spelled like America. Go out. My charge to you as you're being courageous today is to go out and make it amazing. Not yesterday, you can't fix it. Tomorrow, we have no control over right now. But go out and make today amazing, because it is absolutely a choice. Thank you so much for watching. And Louisa, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Erica. It was wonderful.
For more inspiration, visit us online at Erica